Eastside Community Voice on WNOV 860 AM and 106.5 FM with your host, Keith Harris.
Welcome to Community Voice. I'm your host, Keith Ferris. I want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. The phone lines are open, 414-444-5250. I was just sitting here, and Pastor Calhoun and I were just having a conversation about his great alma mater there, Tennessee State University. Go Tigers! But man, the great history there in terms of TSU and certainly athletics. I mean, you're going back, and I knew they were good before this, but going back to Wilma Rudolph.
Then it was Ralph Boston.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ralph Boston, long jump, right?
Mm-hmm.
Set a record that lasted for years.
Yeah.
That was 68, Mexico.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That was altitude. I think they broke a whole lot of records up there. And you were a student in college when all this was kind of like going on, right?
From 70, I went to junior college first and then transferred there from 76 to my first degree there that I got employed locally with Kroger.
Okay.
Was a manager down in Franklin, Tennessee. And then while I was there, I worked on my master's and didn't quite finish it there. But when I went to seminary down in Atlanta, I took the last course to write the thesis for that. But yeah. It's a lot of history, a lot of personality, a lot of people you meet along the way.
What attracted you? Obviously, I think you were saying your mom finished the 8th grade.
Yeah, 8th grade, rural West Tennessee.
So what gave you this desire then to pursue education?
Well, we were dual. So my family was always like, bivocational. We were work jobs. We had a farm. My grandfather had like 250 acres of land. So he was a farmer, but he also played piano. He was a Baptist deacon. So you get this money. He always was working, doing something. And my parents always said, my mom said, you got to go further. You got to go further. And so you get that little push, and being the only son, because I lost my father. He was 41. He died in Chicago. Mm-hmm. So she sent us down south to live with my grandparents.
Okay.
And their whole thing was a work ethic. You gotta go beyond for what we came on, And so you go pursue, get a little success along the way. And then you say, okay, let me stay close to home. Then go a little further from Jackson, Tennessee to Nashville. And you kind of get a little successful along the way. You say, okay, this may work out.
Right.
Yeah.
And Nashville then was really country western. Oh man, that was the other thing that I was a little taken aback of because
Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was what was it? Printer's Alley? Wasn't that the Printer's Alley and then the Grand Ole Opry being downtown. And it was just real different. And then we all had our horror stories about our first day on campus at American Baptist College. Then it was ABT, but American Baptist College. Dr. Demetrius Williams, the fine pastor over at Community Baptist Church, talked about his first day there. He pulled up on campus and immediately went back to the bus station and came back to Milwaukee and enrolled in UWM.
Wow.
I don't know why I didn't do the same thing, but we all had that horror experience of going down. But Nashville was such a fascinating city.
Correct.
On a lot of Nashville was the first place I saw where they wanted to dilute black votes, and so they went to metropolitan government.
Sure.
It was little things that you kind of learned about the South. Again, going down to the South. It was a different experience. But the crazy thing is my entire college career, I did below the Mason-Dixon line. So growing up above the Mason-Dixon line and then going below the Mason-Dixon line. You were a chaplain in the Navy.
Yes. About 12 years. That's how I got here, is that the Navy chaplain serves the Marine Corps, the Navy, and the Coast Guard.
Right.
And I was the first chaplain assigned here to the Coast Guard in Milwaukee to cover the western half of the 9th Coast Guard District, which was actually 4 states.
Okay.
So I did a lot of driving, a lot of flying of Midwest Express, the little planes, they go to little towns.
Yeah.
Sometimes only passenger, you know.
What when you're doing those chapel services, are they what would you say, pretty ecumenical in terms of how you did it, or could you do it from your particular denomination?
Every chapel is totally different. I was fortunate to the Coast Guard had no chapels, but in the Marine Corps and the Navy, the bases that I was assigned to, you could design your own service, or you basically had the general Protestant service, and you can shape things. You can develop choirs, whatever. You had a lot of freedom to do that type thing, but you had hours restrictions.
Okay.
You had timeline restrictions. So if you're not used to doing everything within an hour and 15 minutes, the next service is starting.
Yeah, we were just talking. I think we started our conversation off this morning on what takes us so long. Because it's and I went to Catholic school, so Mass is 55 minutes tops, right? I mean, you get a lot done. You really get a lot done.
In the field of Marine Corps, you got 45 minutes.
Right. You get a lot done.
Before they go someplace else.
Noel Jones was telling the story. He said, I was reading the model prayer. He said it took me something like 30-something seconds to read it. He said, when we pray, what takes us so long? Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes. Thank you for taking my call. I was seeing something that came up on media, and it said that when I was on my question to you, they have said that churches are actually organized crime because it deals with a lot of fantasy thinking and mental slavery. And my question to you is, what has that done for Black people today on earth with the issues we're having on earth? Not the afterlife, but on earth. Because a lot of times when the issues come up, they always talk about the things that God can do, but you never hear these same Black people say, this is what I'm going to do, because I'm not waiting for God, because I have the master key to correct what's on earth. Because when God had his chance to correct it, he failed people for 400 years. Also, this is the same God who bragged about genocide to the devil. And it also was the word on the curve that God or Jesus Christ, Caesar, Pajaya, whoever he is, was always kicking it with prostitutes and tax collectors. How do you feel about that?
All right. Appreciate you, man. How do I feel about it? He was doing it with who? No, I think that if we clearly understand Jesus, we clearly understand that it's all people, and he would go places or be with people that other people would frown upon. But that just showed how Jesus embraced humanity.
Well, also what people have to understand is the scripture say whosoever. And the whosoever is the pimps, the prostitutes, the drug dealers, the sinner of all. So Jesus walks amongst the whosoevers. The issue is you have a choice. You can change what you do and how you go about things, because the good thing about Jesus is that he give you the choice. And because he don't force it on you, because even in the natural relationship, I'm sure you wouldn't want to force your partner into loving you. And it would be more accepted if it was a choice for them to love you and then love you with all of their heart, because it's a choice and not by force.
There's some things that go into that, though, You may not feel like you have a choice after a while.
After a while, Doc, it's either or. Right. Is you is or is you ain't.
Well, I think the other thing is church is supposed to be used to be's, right? I used to do this. I used to do that. Repentance is changing, turning away from bad, negative behavior. But I understand. Look, it is. Malcolm X said this. He said that kittens born in an oven don't make them biscuits. The fact that people might be sitting in these environments don't mean that they're saved.
Yeah.
It don't mean that they're embracing.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that they're trying to apply, the things that we learn. If nothing else, man, it's an ideal. It's an ideal. I was at Black Marriage, at the Black Marriage celebration, and they use 1 Corinthians, the 13th chapter on love, right? And I pointed out that is not meant for how how Pastor Calhoun should love me. That onus is on how I should love Pastor Calhoun.
There you go.
Right? I need to have patience. I need not to keep score. Right? I need to be able to celebrate when you do well. That's the hard part about anything. That's what religion does in general. It's supposed to help us modify our behavior. It's supposed to help us tramp down our worst instincts, and so it's supposed to make you a better person. So I say your religion has no power if it hasn't made you a better person. Caller, welcome to the program.
Morning. And thank you for taking my call. And Pastor Calhoun, it is great hearing your voice.
Okay.
And I know this is Brenda Hart Richardson, that you and I work in a community organization together. And I'm telling you, the person sitting before you, Keith, that's a wealth of knowledge. Vast and does so much. I'm telling you, I learned so much in a little while that he was a part of what I'm doing, and he could be still. So some don't get out there until they're really needed, or you tap into the resources that they have and get a better understanding. A lot of people want to pick on who you are and what you believe. I believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, and I believe that he died for our sins, and it's a choice. And I don't have to prove to you what I believe and what he is in my life. I don't have to defend that. So, and no one, don't ever try to do that. Tell them to look around. And then you have choices. And if you decide to make the wrong choice, don't blame God for the mess that you're in. You caused that mess. But you could certainly get down on your knees and repent and get up and get busy. Great hearing from you. Great show, Keith. Thanks. And keep doing, both of you, what you're doing. And I hope the young people that surround your church over there on Fort Washington step in there and really get some information from you to move forward and doing positive things in their lives.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate you. Yeah. I have children's church. I love children's church. I think if you're a pastor, spend some time down with the children. You will hear things that you go, and get a sense of things. Because there is a generational divide right now. I mean, it is, you wake up one day and and it is really funny because when we were young, there was all this pushing we were doing. We need to change this. And how come y'all doing it this way? And we need to do that. And da-da-da-da-da. And here's the one thing, boy, God has a sense of humor. I ain't going to never be like them. I ain't going to ever be a hypocrite like them. Okay. Wrong. We're all trying to get better. But no, I just think hopefully we're hearing what young people are saying. I don't know if it's these intergenerational conversations that we're having. I hope, in fact, they are conversations. There's something to say about energy, but there's also something to say about wisdom. Yeah. So, this in the military, you can send a young man up a hill, right? I mean, when I'm 18, 19, I'm invincible. When we get older, we start doing calculations like, I don't know, because going up that hill, right. And I think that's what happened when Saul and the army confronted the Philistines and Goliath. They were sitting back there making some military, like, this dude is too big, and what are we gonna do? And everybody was scared. David was young; he could care less. I mean, I'm gonna go at it. That's the benefit. That's the curse of youth, but that's why young men fight wars.
Correct.
Well, the energy and other things, but
sure.
Just how, and working with the Marines, how, you don't question going up that hill.
Correct.
If they tell you to go up the hill, you go up the hill. When you're older, you kind of going like, no, wait a minute. I'm going up the hill to do what? And what might happen if I go up the hill? Is fascinating how we get in. So maybe that's just the circle of life that we just kind of have to cycle through. I'm hoping that I'm not thinking old. But I'm just looking at the technology. We're walking around with these handheld computers.
Yeah, since 2009.
Right.
And so it's not. When I was in the military, we didn't have these.
Right.
And I was just wondering, so how do we effectively communicate? And I remember we would pull into a port, and that shoreline, that community, whether it was Naples or whatever, they would have a whole string of phone booths lined up for us, connected just for us to come in, because they knew we hadn't been at sea 40, 50 days. We haven't been in contact with our families. And first thing we do is get off the ship, get to a phone booth, call, check in with our family, see if anything or everything was okay. But nowadays, it's just FaceTime and all that. It's different.
Yeah. And then I even think, it's really how the military drives a lot of technology that civilians benefit from. And you talk about the phone again, the GPS.
Correct.
GPS was used
military.
For military. And they say that the forerunner of the GPS, the person who kind of came up with the concept of the idea, was the actress Hedy Lamarr. Wow. And what she never did was she never went in and got the copyrights to it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, she had this whole thing about it was her fascination beyond acting, and that she was able to put together, and it becomes part of the technology. Man, I appreciate you hanging out a little bit longer, man. Will you come back and we can?
Oh, absolutely, anytime. Military have been studying like this new thing called AI.
Yes,
since the 80s.
Yeah,
and in fact, there's a command I ran into on a base by accident. I just drive around the base first time and saw Artificial Intelligence Headquarters Command. That was back in the 90s. And I said, okay, this is the new thing for the future.
Yeah. The world keeps moving, don't it?
Keeps on moving. Yes. Yeah, we got to catch up some more about that.
We sure will. Pastor Andrew Calhoun of the Grace Fellowship Church of Milwaukee. Again, if you want to be involved with the study that they're doing in conjunction with the School of Pharmacy at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, you can call 414-550-1016, 550-1016. All right, you're listening to Community Voice. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Center for Teaching Entrepreneurship presents its third annual Big Head Soiree, Thursday, May 16th at the Marcus Performing Arts Center in the Bradley Pavilion. I'm Andrea Williams, and I'll be your host for this spectacular event. It's designed to salute the co-founder, Miss Radonna Rogers, as she loved to wear big hats, and this is one way we honor her. We will also celebrate and recognize the accomplishments of Milwaukee's leaders in entrepreneurial ventures.
TTE was founded with the mission in mind to help young people understand business, financial literacy, and themselves, and how they can find their way into the marketplace and be productive citizens. We have found a great way to educate, stimulate, and advance what we're doing within this community.
So ladies, this is the time to wear your big hat, and guys, your stylish fedora. You will be treated to a delectable dinner and the sounds of Soul Sirius starting at 5:30. The program will begin at 7 with more entertainment and the awards program. Tickets are just $75. Go to Eventbrite using VHS 24 or call 414-788-8104. That's 414-788-8104. This event will kick off the spring season, so don't miss it.
This event is sponsored by Wisconsin Black Chamber of Commerce, U.S. Bank, Brewers Community Foundation, and BizStart.
Looking for the perfect spot to unwind and hang out with your friends? Well, come visit Brownstone Social Lounge, located at 524 North Water Street, Milwaukee's premier downtown social lounge. For good vibes, great music, and delicious food, be sure to try our amazing wings and drink specials during our all-day happy hour on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And that's not all. You can also enjoy happy hour from Thursday to Sunday from 4 p.m. until 7 p.m. For more information, please call 414-204-0103. Brownstone Social Lounge.
Great impressions will exceed your expectations. Great impressions, perceptions, everything.
Are you ready to make a lasting impression? Look no further than Great Impressions Graphics and Printing. With over 25 years of excellence in the industry, we specialize in delivering top-notch printing solutions tailored to your corporate needs. Business cards, brochures, banners, annual reports, apparel, and promotional items. Our state-of-the-art technology ensures unmatched quality and precision. Call 414-536-7646 or visit greatimpress.com today to learn more. Trust Great Impressions to exceed your expectations and elevate your brand to new heights.
Great impressions, perceptions, everything.
WNOV 860 and W293CX 106.5 Milwaukee. Now, back to Community Voice with Keith Paris and Rhea Grant on 860 AM and 106.5 FM, Milwaukee.
Now, back to Community Voice with Keith Paris and Rhea Grant on 860 AM and 106.5 FM, Milwaukee.
All right, welcome back to Community Voice, and we have on the line with us. Can I still call you Mayor?
You call me Mitch?
Call you Mitch. Mitch Landrew. He is the senior advisor to the president for infrastructure coordination. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hi, how you doing? Well, I was until a couple of weeks ago. Now I'm co-chair of the president's reelection campaign.
Oh, okay. Oh, man. How's that looking? Hello?
I'm going to hit Madison, Milwaukee, Racine, La Crosse. I'll be in Wausau County.
Okay.
Talking to folks about the incredible investments the president's made and the choice that we have in November between a successful presidency of Joe Biden and a failed presidency of Donald Trump.
It's interesting, and I kind of did this because just based on your past relationship, you were the senior advisor for infrastructure. We did have the situation with the bridge there, the Emma Harbor in Baltimore today. So, and I thought I was going to ask you about this in terms of how important
absolutely
that infrastructure bill was and the impact that it's having on the country.
Well, it just makes the point. I talked to the governor of Maryland this morning, Wes Moore, who's great. His team is on it. It is an awful situation, a number of deaths, we think, at this particular point in time. And it just points out how important rebuilding the country is. President Biden understood this. This is why when Donald Trump was office, he promised infrastructure. He never delivered. He failed in that effort. Joe Biden said that he would get it done. And he actually delivered $1.2 trillion to rebuild the roads and the bridges, the airports, the ports, make sure people have clean air and safe water. You know, we got kids that are sucking dirty water out of lead pipes that's giving them brain damage. The president said he's going to change that, and he's delivered. I actually was in Milwaukee last year with Mayor Cavalier Johnson with a young lady named Deanna Branch, whose two kids, Aiden and Jaden, got sick from drinking dirty water out of lead pipes. And, of course, we're fixing that as well. The president was here just a couple of weeks ago in Milwaukee with a $36.6 million grant to rebuild and reconnect African-American community that had been dissected by a highway, which has happened across the country. And that infrastructure bill is delivering really high-paying jobs, to put people back to work and to build generational wealth, especially in communities of color. So that's what this campaign is about. It's really clear that President Biden's been here 9 times during his presidency. The vice presidency's been here a bunch of times. I've been here as well. Wisconsin's really important and is going to hopefully take us back.
Yeah, and let me say, unlike what happened in 2016, when the Democratic candidate didn't come, assumed that that they would win Wisconsin, and then we find out that in fact it doesn't have it. Since then, there has been a presence by the Democratic Party in general, but specifically in terms of the president and the vice president coming to Wisconsin, really talking about why do you think the message is not getting out in terms of the work that the Biden administration has done to really benefit America?
Well, I just think it's a matter of time. The campaign just started. One of the ways that people learn about things is by putting ads on TV. And, of course, the president and the vice president have completely outpaced the Trump campaign with the money that's raised. And the ads on TV will remind people what it was like when Trump was president. It was failed presidency. He lost 2.5 million jobs. He lost tens of thousands of manufacturing jobs. And we're going to remind him that under the Biden administration, President Biden's created 15.5 million jobs. And 800,000 manufacturing jobs. So this administration has delivered for the people of Wisconsin, and we're going to continue to come here. Every vote matters. Every vote counts. And, of course, more importantly, the livelihoods of working men and women, especially union workers, which, as you know, the president believes built the middle class, and the middle class built the country. He's very intent on making sure. I was thrilled to hear about the agreement that was reached between the utility companies and the unions today, to make sure that all the renewable energy projects are using union labor. That's going to create at least 30,000 jobs across the state. So the president's delivering, and we're going to continue to come here and tell the folks that and how important they are to the success and to the future of the country.
One of the interesting things, I was just really moving into this radio station during 2020, and I think for a couple of years I'd been on, and we kept the current president, then we just said he was the gift that just kept on giving, right? If I didn't have anything to talk about, he gave me something to talk about every day. But my buddy and I, we were having this conversation yesterday.
You mean Trump?
I won't call his name, but yes, I do mean Trump.
Well, but the name who will not be spoken, but that was a matter of chaos. People should remember this, that every day you woke up, the question you asked yourself when he was president is, what the hell did he do today?
Yes.
And what craziness is going on, and what kind of insanity is taking place in the most important place in the country. Joe Biden, as you know, has been a steady hand. He put together the best cabinet that we've seen in a long time. He made the first person of color to be vice president, Kamala Harris. He made sure that on the Supreme Court, people of color are represented in the new justice that he appointed. He's appointed more African Americans to the federal bench, which is where it really matters, than all the other presidents combined. And the African American community right now under Biden has the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years and the highest number of small business applications that have been granted. So this president has put his money where his mouth is. The other president failed all of us miserably and wants to take us back to a time that never was, that we should never want to go back to.
Yeah, and the point my buddy made last night, he said, could you imagine had Joe Biden not been elected president, we would have lost even more lives to COVID. I mean, I don't
think there's any doubt about it. I think when people talk about, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? Remember that on this day, 4 years ago, the ex-president, the failed president, the president who lost the last election by 7 million votes, was telling people to drink some kind of chemical, and that might get you good. That was his recommendation. And then, of course, we lost a lot of our brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers and aunts and uncles. This President Biden got shots in arms, put people back to work, got people out of food lines. I hope people remember that our families were standing in line outside of schools getting fed because the economy had crashed. And remind people that in this economy, 15.5 million jobs created, 800,000 manufacturing jobs. Not everybody's in the stock market, but the people who are, the stock market's hit 5 all-time highs. Now prices are still too high for people. The president understands that. And then you go to the grocery store and you buy eggs, you buy bread, and you're trying to take care of your family. Prices are high, which is why he's fighting hard to lower costs for people, not the least of which is fighting the big pharmaceutical companies to let people pay a little bit of money for their insulin if you got the sugar or diabetes. So $35 now as opposed to $400. And these crazy people on the other side want to take away the Affordable Care Act, which provides health care to 20 million people. So, I want people to kind of just be remembering the right way about what was and what is right now. And it's not a really close call about which one is better for the country and the people of Wisconsin.
Mitch, it was very interesting because when you said the sugar, I have 2 nurses in here. They just rolled, man.
I'm sorry.
No, that's perfect.
That's what we say.
That's what we say, right?
Sugar. I mean, that's what you say. If you're from the neighborhood, that's what you say. If you're in the doctor's office, you might say, I got diabetes. I thought we shouldn't joke about it. It's really serious.
Well, but sometimes.
But let me say this. I'm up in Milwaukee right now, and I went to Sam's place, Sam's Jazz Cafe, which everybody should go to, and I got grits. So I'm feeling like I'm home.
Oh, man, that's great food over there, man. I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
did you do the shrimp and grits or just the grits?
Shrimp? No, just grits and don't tell my wife, put some sausage. I hope she's not there.
What do you say? And I'm hearing this. I do talk radio, and so people call in, and there are some. It's not in their mind that Joe Biden hasn't done a good job. It's just how they're reacting to him, and I don't know how guys could be 3.5 years apart. One is old, and the other one isn't. So how do you kind of counter that messaging?
Well, first of all, I'm going to say 2 things. One of them is going to be a nice thing. The other one's not going to be a nice thing.
Okay.
First one is Trump's 77 years old, and nobody can look at Joe Biden and Donald Trump and not think Joe Biden's in better shape than Donald Trump.
Right.
I mean, that guy eats too many Big Macs. I'm just, you can look at that and say he's got trouble.
You think you got the sugar?
It's not about what your age is. It's about the age of your idea.
Right.
And the idea that Joe Biden has is a really simple idea, is that you should use the power of the presidency to help other people, to lift people up, make sure everybody's included, and to create a better future for your family. That's Joe Biden's idea. It's a good idea. Here's Donald Trump's idea. Donald Trump's idea is I'm for myself, I'm for my rich friends. I'm going to use my power to hurt people for revenge and vengeance. And if I'm going to get mine, and I don't care if you get yours. That's his idea. And that idea yielded really bad things for the country. So I think just, my plea to my fellow Americans is heads up. This guy is dangerous. You don't need to listen to Mitch Landrieu, a little old boy from New Orleans. You got to listen to the people that Donald Trump himself hired to work for him as his chief of staff, as his secretary of defense, as his secretary of state, as his executive assistant, who said, man, I know that dude. Don't let that guy anywhere near the Oval Office again. He's bad news. How many people do you know? How many friends do you have that if their friends told them that, they would go, oh, I like him anyway? You wouldn't let this guy coach your kids.
So let me ask,
so I think people got to get focused in on that.
So in terms of putting on your political scientist hat, then how do you, why is his base as strong as it is? What is the appeal?
Well, listen, there are two things. One, I think the campaign we just started the general election campaign. I think that most families are not thinking about the campaign. I think his base is, energized, but I think that most regular folks, the kind of folks that vote for people who are decent, are paying attention to getting to and from work, getting to and from church, getting to and from the synagogue or the mosque, taking their kids to ball practice or where they need to go, working hard, and they're going to get focused on this political stuff in time to come. The big difference here, and I want you to remember we had this conversation, is that Joe Biden's got the receipts. Donald Trump's got hot air. He got nothing. There's nothing in his basement. That's why he's on his hands and knees looking for nickels trying to pay his bond right now.
All right. I thought it was a great line. Then President Biden said, I know you having some problems, but I can't help you out financially. It's something that he was said to effect, talking about where we are. Mitch, I really appreciate you. You're in Milwaukee?
I am in Milwaukee right now. I'm heading to Racine.
To Racine. Okay. Hey, one of our folks that's her.
Right.
She's a native Racinian. Is that what you called your folks?
Oh man, I like that.
Racinians?
I like that. And I'll be heading tomorrow. This afternoon I'll be going to Madison, and then tomorrow I'll be going to La Crosse and Wausau.
Well, wow. Really appreciate
that. Got some cheese on the way.
Oh yeah. If nothing else in this state is going to be cheese, right? Man, really appreciate it. Really appreciate you, man. I have watched your career and the work that you've done, man, and you've been consistent, and I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me, and thanks for your listeners, hanging on and talking to us. But heads up, we got a democracy to save.
Mayor Mitch Landrieu of the Biden-Harris campaign. Thank you, sir, for taking a few moments with us.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for having me. You guys have a great day.
Hey, you too. All right. So let's do this. We're inside Be Healthy, Be You. Thank you all for deferring a little bit of your time to get this in. So good morning, Miss Julia Meads, Miss Brenda Buchanan, Ascension, Wisconsin. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm impressed that I was here.
Why?
I feel honored to be a part of the interview.
Oh, okay. Yeah, y'all did have a strong reaction to the sugar.
Because she got the sugar.
In African American, that is a clinical term. As a description is interesting because we were talking about the study they're doing at Grace Church and these morbidities that we have in terms of diabetes. Mm-hmm. And I think you all tell us that many of the things we're dealing with is more about lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was on the board of this, working on this in our community, and some of the questions that people had. We don't realize how health literacy can really cause you your life. A lot of this one woman was speaking about how she didn't understand her medication, and so because she didn't understand it, she wasn't taking it, and her A1C kept rising. So my heart just went out to her. No one took time to sit down and explain to her what metformin was, what her meds were, and so she was confused. So we have to make sure people understand their diagnosis and the treatment. You just can't give people a piece of paper. This is your discharge orders, and these are the meds we have for. It used to be the pharmacist would teach you, the nurse would teach you. You just had all these layers, and I think about when people go to the doctor. If your parent is 80 years old or older, or your mom or dad has problems reading or understanding, they shouldn't go by themselves. No. Somebody should go with them and to say, slow down. He doesn't understand this, or we need to look at this, because a lot of times we send people home with instructions that are complex and they don't understand it.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of it. And then I think the fact that it is churches, because sometimes we're contributors. What's that? Yeah, I kind of knew, but I was okay. Here we go.
In the future, the ladies must have their intro music, right?
Right.
Be healthy, be you. Time, right? Let's go.
Hi, welcome to Be Healthy, Be You. Miss Julia Means, Miss Brenda Buchanan, Central Wisconsin. Yay.
Good morning.
How's everybody?
Good.
Good. Excellent. And so we were just talking as just kind of a, we call it a bleed in the business, that from we were talking about with Pastor Calhoun and the studies that they're doing. I think, again, we know that many of the health studies are done based on white males.
Correct.
This is a situation where we can begin to talk about how, in this case, diabetes uniquely affects descendants of enslaved Africans, and how important it is for us to get involved with this, just so we can get better treatment.
Correct.
Because you were just talking about how people could leave the doctor's office and not have a clue.
Don't have a clue.
And Julia's talking about older people, but I had an encounter with a young woman on Thursday, and she was in her late 20s. And I noticed something about her and was talking to her about it. And she has the medication, yet she hasn't been treated. She hasn't taken it. And so I tried to explain to her that this is going to get worse, and this is how this happens, and the importance of taking the medication. And it was an antibiotic, so it was a short-term medication. But without taking that, she's going to get a lot worse. But people are so resistant. People, especially a lot of our people that we work with, they don't trust healthcare. She obviously felt bad enough that she went in, but now it's a week later and she still hasn't taken the medication. So sometimes it's just a lack of understanding, somebody taking time to sit and talk with them. And when Julia said about, I would have never let my mother go to the doctor by herself. One, she wouldn't retain anything or nothing I wanted to know. And she's not going to tell everything either. So I'd be like, wait a minute. That's there's more to this story.
Said, right? So today, we're talking about traumatic brain injury. And it's something that I don't think, well, it happens. It happens a lot.
A lot. And this time of the year, it's starting to get warm out. You're going to see kids out on their bikes, people riding their motorcycles. All of those are, higher risk activities. So we'll be seeing more and more of that.
One of the, I would say minor, but probably, can I use the term low level when we talk about traumatic brain injuries, concussions? Right?
They call it mild traumatic brain injury.
Mild traumatic? What does that mean?
Well, it means lesser symptoms, less damage, but it's traumatic in that, it happened because of an incident, injury, something like that.
So explain to people why the brain is susceptible a little bit more susceptible to these, well, obviously brain injuries, because that's where the brain is. But why is it? Guess it's going to happen where the thing is. But what is it about the brain and that makes it so unique and how it's situated in our heads?
Well, it's kind of just sitting there in the skull. And so, it gets bounced around. We talk about even shaken baby syndrome, how that happens. That brain bounces around and hits the skull, and that can cause bruising and bleeding and some significant damage. So thankfully, we have a hard cranium that's there to protect it. But, with severe blows or severe shaking, that brain is going to bounce off that and cause some serious damage.
We're inside Be Healthy, Be You. Miss Julia Means, Miss Brenda Buchanan. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Milwaukee, we are about to enter one of the most important election seasons of our lives. 2024 is going to be pivotal. Here at WNOV, we work to ensure that our listeners are informed, knowledgeable, and engaged. On Tuesday, April 2nd, tune in from 3 to 8 p.m. for another edition of Election Central. Hear from candidates, discuss ballot referendums, and get real-time election updates and report problems throughout the course of the day. We are ready, and you should be too. Election Central on WNOV 860 AM 106.5 FM, sponsored by Souls to the Polls.
2024 Soul Stirring Gospel Easter Bash, March 31st, sponsored by the New Pitts Mortuary, located at 2031 West on Capitol Drive. Pick your tickets up 45 in advance, 50 at the door. On my way home, the Captain Spiritual. Oh, the gospel for he's blessing me. I feel it in my feet right now. Baby, you better meet me there. Brunch at 1, the show begins at 4 p.m. The fabulous Lucky Brothers, my soul is a witness. I feel it down on the inside. Be right there at Abundant Faith, located at 7830 West Good Hope Road. Oh, Willie Rogers, we're going to a meeting on that day. I see them marching down the street. Come on in from everywhere, northwest, south. Oh, it's going down. There's a leak in this old building, Bishop Neil Robertson, and my soul has got to move. Don't you miss it. Call the New Pitts Mortuary 414-447-6000. It's going down at the Soul Stirring Gospel Easter Bash. Oh, I gotta stop right there, Brian. Back in top. My feet got light. I feel myself flying right about now. Come on now. You don't want to miss it. Be right there in the house. It's going down. Come on now, Tiffany Jerry. Everybody know he's my friend. Oh, you don't want to miss it. You be right there. That Soul Stirring Gospel Easter Bash. That food is going to be yummy, yummy, yummy. I'll tell you, come on now, Reverend R.L. Bush and the Revived Sons. Put the weight on me. Oh, not that kind of weight, because that food gonna be so scrumptious. Pick your tickets up at the New Pitts Mortuary.
Tickets are also available at Nick-A-Vonnie's and Mayfair Mall on the second floor.
Milwaukee. Hello, Milwaukee. Can you tell me why did
Miss Stacey Abrams?
This is she. I am very excited to be talking to you.
Mr. Trey Baker.
First and foremost, I say it's a personal thing. Quit tripping. Go vote.
Mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot.
I am with you. Good morning.
choose WNOV 860 AM 106.5 FM to talk to you? They knew that WNOV is the voice of the Milwaukee community. But did you also know that
Harold Mosley.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
The Honorable Congressman G.K. Butterfield.
WNOV, thank you for your sensitivity and your willingness to educate our community.
Donna Brazil
wanted to get their message to you, and they knew WNOV was the only station to use to get to the Milwaukee community.
Political parties are vehicles. You can choose to drive them or you can choose to walk, but you better not get on the road and don't know where you're going. We're not asking anybody to get away from the table. Just give me a chair so I can sit.
So what are you waiting for?
WNOV 860 and W293CX 106.5 Milwaukee.
All right, welcome back to Be Healthy, Be You. Miss Julie Means, Miss Brenda Buchanan, and we're talking about traumatic brain injury. It's funny, you mentioned kids, right? And we think the kids are so soft now because they have helmets and knee pads and elbow pads, and we call them soft. I would have killed for that level of protection at that age.
Right. I mean, I still got a depressed area in my skull.
I do too.
Explaining a lot, right?
Right. That explains it. The many concussions I had.
Now, the one good thing, though, it was never from my mother.
No.
Now, there were some folks out there certainly got some concussions from their moms, and that my mother never hit us in the head. Because she felt like because your brain is floating around there, she didn't want to do any brain damage. But the rest of the body.
Right. And those legs especially.
Oh, man.
They got it. Post-traumatic stress.
In the summertime, and my mom used an extension cord. That is, you're going to jail for that today.
Man, I still got war room.
Right. And so with my little near light bright, you can see where I'd have got hit, right?
Yeah.
So I'm out there with a sweater on, it's 90 degrees, because I don't want anybody to see. And that's where it's itching on those welts. Oh man, oh God. But that's a whole different discussion we should have about how we raise our kids and corporal punishment. But ooh, man.
And they didn't know any better.
They could have found out.
They didn't know.
My mama used to say, "You find out what you want to find out."
You're right about that.
So no, she. I mean, it was wow. And sometimes it looked like my mom was really enjoying it, but I'm not gonna. So she said, I never heard that. My mother never said that. I mean, it'd be, and then when you have a single mom, she still got her life. So, a couple of times I was thinking to myself, my name ain't James. Would you whooping James? I'm Keith. So get back to where we were. There was never. Because every time she looked at me, she saw James. Oh man, it'd just be like all that pain coming out. Oh, you look like him too? Oh, it just triggered something in her that was but yeah, I mean, when we talk about the protection that the kids have, I see Carvey, young guy. Hey, what's up, you guys? So when you had your bikes when you were little, did you have helmets? No. I have one. You have one?
But the problem is you probably could have had one. You just didn't want to wear it, right?
Road warrior.
What is you doing?
What are you doing, man? What was she preparing you for, man?
That's probably why you wore it too, right?
Battle ram.
I hate to take y'all back one more time. Did y'all have a big wheel? You had big wheel? You had big wheel?
Yes, sir, Doc. Riding up down Atkinson. I grew up right there on 21st.
Okay.
So all of this area, when it was safe, you can ride up all like Rufus King and the top lot and all over there. It was safe. Now, I wouldn't even walk with Jesus himself.
Well, the crazy thing, it wasn't like you didn't hear that big wheel.
Oh,
I was just going to say that big wheel was miles on it.
You couldn't speak up on anybody.
Yeah, Doc, they heard you coming.
That grip.
Yeah.
Because it was plastic.
Yeah.
It was all plastic.
It was all plastic.
And don't let it be wet outside.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, Doc, he was.
So did you guys have any kind of situations where you had concussions or you had one? Playing sport, football? Yeah. Yeah.
A bike before I fell off a bike. I actually can show you the scar real quick.
Okay.
I fell off a bike.
He's showing me the scar, yeah.
Oh, yeah. The chain went all over.
Ouch.
And I used to tell people in school I got cut by a raccoon. A scratch.
that got more sympathy than falling off my bike.
Finally get this straight. The raccoon had a knife. Yeah, dude. Dude was like from the hood.
That raccoon
from the raccoon's a man. He's from the hood, right? He's from around the way, man. He did.
Right.
I got one bad, notable accident. I was going down this long hill.
You know, it was me and other 5 guys, and it was just collateral damage. We was hitting one after another.
Oh,
next thing you know, we all rolling down the hill.
Wow.
Oh.
I don't know if y'all could hear that. Just me and 5 other guys rolling down the hill at the same time, basically. Bikes in the background.
Oh yeah.
Snowball.
No helmets.
Mm-mm.
Who? You had a helmet? How did everybody else fare?
Right.
Jesus.
So yeah, the idea now that we put kids in helmets, I don't think our parents really cared if you had a concussion back in the day. I don't think they clearly.
Well, you certainly didn't go to the doctor.
Yeah.
If you woke up, you were good. There was no going to the doctor for anything.
Can you breathe?
Right.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we used to hook sleds up to the snowmobiles, and you'd have like 3 or 4 people on the sled, and being pulled by, you know, we'd hit trees, we'd fall off. I mean, I lived dangerously.
So you know what I never really understood coming up was when you hit your head or you had a headache, your parents used to tell you to lay down.
Yes.
And it's like, now that I'm older, though, you think about it, it's like, I think that's kind of dangerous. Like, you don't want to lay down and go to sleep because you might not
Is
wake up.
is that a wives' tale? Or is that for real?
No, well, if you're awake, we can assess you. We know that, you know, but once you fall asleep, you know, you're not going to, you know, do a neurological assessment. You know, most people don't know to do that. But if they're awake, you can still talk to them. Are they lucid? You know, do they know where they're at? You know, all that kind of stuff.
Vision. Sometimes your vision
Right.
May change. And
balance.
Yeah. And so if you're asleep, you can't see all of that. And the brain could be bleeding.
Could be bleeding, yeah.
And that and the brain and the skull has a limited amount of space.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you bleed, it bleeds enough where it will compress the actual bleeding because the skull is right there and it's actually applying pressure to that spot.
Gotcha.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
But you still got all this blood that has to absorb or be evacuated. And it makes a difference if it's a arterial bleed or a venous bleed.
Oh.
So
if it's arterial, you're in trouble. You need to be going to the emergency room.
So how much time do you have if it's arterial?
Depends. Well, if it's arterial anywhere, that's you need to get to the ER immediately. Call 911. Because, you know, with an artery, that blood is under force. So it's every time your heart beats, that blood is just coming out.
Okay.
Whereas in a vein, it's just the opposite. So it's kind of ooze out. But with an artery, you can lose a lot of blood very quickly.
So when you're talking about some of the things in terms of the impact of that, obviously you want to do the observation to see where people are. Why is it with concussions, one will feel nausea?
Because that nerve is in the brain and it stimulates, it's going down to the stomach and it's disrupting the messages that is coming from the brain to the stomach.
Because I did.
Because some people, they just
immediately
upheave. And that's just the message. Your brain is your center of information, and it's either going out or coming in. And so if there is a disruption, everything is haywire.
I was at Albert Wendell Holmes as a student, and it was a winter day, and so there's ice on the playground. And so I'm out faking like I'm ice skating, right? And slipped.
Boom.
And got knocked out.
You saw the light or you saw no light?
Right. It was just
Wait a minute.
right.
I saw no one coming to help me.
Right.
I'm laid out there on that playground and nobody came to help. The kids had all gone in for recess. I'm still out there. It's kind of, did the teacher know I wasn't there? Where's Keith? I think he's sprawled out there
somewhere in the snow.
He didn't come back in. I'm not sure.
So I'm out there, man. It was just like, wow. Did anybody care that I just had a concussion? So I that was a concussion, and I think I was in Summer Fun Club with the YMCA, and we had this counselor, and it was right after the riot, so we really couldn't go out. So they kept us in, and he got mad at me for something. I'll never forget. I'm in. I don't know if you've been to the Y, but they had that wrestling room back there, the boxing room, the padded room, and we were in there. And this dude hit me in the head with a plastic baseball bat. Excuse me.
Oh.
And I knew it was a concussion because when I came home, I was still throwing up, and that's why I asked. You know, in terms of what does that look like? Some of the symptoms from a concussion. Pain is probably another one.
Big pain.
Or you know, if they lose consciousness and pass out, you know that you have a concussion.
You
There's
have
no doubt about it.
All the symptoms you had.
Mm-hmm.
One day I was doing something and I raised my head up and I hit the corner of the cabinet.
I was just gonna say the cabinet, right? Because I've done that so many times.
And I was like, "Ow, that pain!" It was like,
you see stars. Because we were talking about that last week.
Right.
Like you see stars, and oh man, I bumped my head one time. It was just like, whoa, that hurts. Now, it's interesting because when you talk about this traumatic brain injury, we can bruise the brain, correct?
Oh yeah.
You have bleeding in the brain.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems now that they're saying, especially with what is it, ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, that usually is because people had concussive.
Right, they're starting to see that, which is a little frightening.
Because Lou Gehrig, they said what you don't know is how many times now in the movie they show where he slipped, but how many times the way he played, he go into second base head first. So he had a lot of concussions. And so later on, it didn't. So X number of blows to the head really could have long-term neurological impact, right?
Oh, absolutely.
We know that. Yeah. Even with the football players and how they become violent.
CTE.
And things. So we know that damage to the brain eventually, because you heal and then you scar. And depending on what area that was damaged, that reception is messed up.
But normally scarring is good because that's a sign that it's been healed,
No,
right?
but scarring you also
Is it scar
get
tissue?
right, and like so depending on the part of the brain, each part of the brain regulates something different.
Okay.
You know, like your balance. Your balance, and that is going to be more on the sides of the top of your brain is your vision. Is your ability to talk, swallow, all those things. Back of your head is your vision. So depending on what part of the brain is damaged, you might have long-term consequences from that.
I was I'm going through my concussive events in my life, and we'll see what my brain turns out to be. But I was 6. Gary was 3. And we had a porch. And so what we were doing, we were running up, step over the rail, jump off the porch. It wasn't really, but run up the stairs, get on the other side of the rail, jump off the porch. So I go up the third time, get outside the rail, and Gary pushed me.
Oh.
And I went head first into the concrete, right? So I go in the house. Bleeding. I am concussed, right? Big old spot. And my mother go, "What happened?" I said, Gary pushed me off the porch. No, he didn't. He'd never do that. Oh, here we go. Yes, he did. Look at the spot, Mom.
Right. Now you're in trouble because you got hurt.
I got hurt by him. So that's another one. That's 4. I'm trying to keep count of this. I had one in football. First of all, I'm just thinking about this. You play football? Yeah.
He's fast.
Running back, bro. I'm small, but I got some touchdowns. Running back. Yup. Kick return, punt return.
Okay. And the object is not to get hit, right? Yeah, these small. Yeah, and there's some dudes, man. They be little, but yeah, they bring a whole lot. It's interesting because we're talking about the concussive events boxers.
Oh, yeah.
And I think one of those neurological things from people having concussions is Parkinson's. Any kind of those brain neurological pieces. And then I think they're trying to say I think they also said there's some links into Alzheimer's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when when you talked about your head wound, any wound to the head bleeds profusely. The blood just pour out because you the heart sends a lot of blood to the brain.
You a wrestling fan?
No.
Were you ever a wrestling fan? Never. Wrestling fan, man?
Of course.
Oh, yeah, of course. This guy told the trick of the trade about wrestlers and bleeding.
Mm.
And what happens is it's called you cut. So what they do is they take a razor blade, put it in tape, and then they'll have tape in the wrist and they stick it in there. You got to really watch. So you would see where the guy would go down and he would cover away from the camera, and then he would just slice along here, right? Now, when it looks like he's breathing profusely, thing you're talking about, but it's really perspiration.
It's just a little cut.
It's a little cut, but you bleed there because all the blood vessels
sure
that are
get a
there.
lot of blood.
It's a lot of blood, but it's also the perspiration that's coming down. So back in the day, I used to love wrestling magazines. You see these pictures like Abdullah the Butcher.
Yeah,
He
Bret
just
the Hitman Hart.
yeah, be covered in blood. But that was the whole secret. Look at Ric Flair. Look at his forehead, scar tissue. All this scar tissue from him cutting. When you sit at two things with wrestlers, scar tissue here, cauliflower ears.
So you mean to tell me I've been bamboozled?
You've been bamboozled.
You've been bamboozled.
Well, ain't to pull wool over
It's
sheep
all
eyes, huh?
right. There's always a there's the illusion, but if you especially go back and you see a match where there's bleeding. Now the WWE got away from that. They wanted more family friendly, but there were other folks who were really, and then headshots. These guys, they're actually getting hit in the head with the chair.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean they're taking that headshot, and so now you're seeing these guys. They say with what was his name? Benoit.
Yeah.
End up killing his wife and his son. They were saying it was steroids. They go, no, it was CTE. It was CTE, and those steroids didn't help.
No.
But the number of headshots that they take with the chairs, it used to be there's a way you can throw your hand up, but because of high def television, you can see it. So they take it. They're supposed to hold up on the shot, but that's still anything that moves the brain. Is not good for the brain.
No, it's not.
And so you see a lot of these wrestlers now dealing with CTE, which is what is it? It is
what is
cerebral something encephalopathy or something like that.
Encephalopathy.
It's okay.
Could
All
be,
right.
yeah.
All right, you want to get the call? Yeah, he did push me off the porch, Mom. Caller, welcome to the program.
But you taught him. You were the oldest.
I never taught him how to push anybody off a porch. I wasn't holding those classes, and certainly didn't teach him how to push me off a porch.
Hey, good morning.
What up, T?
Hey, good morning, Keith. Good morning, ladies.
Traumatic
Good morning.
Yes. Good morning, Milwaukee. Tyrone W. speaking. Keith done took you down. That's a whole nother show there going down that road there, pushing people off of stoops and porches. But I just wanted to, in a blessed and joyous Holy Week and Good Friday, Palm Sunday just passed us, and Resurrection Easter Sunday to all. Thank you, ladies. I appreciate the professionalism and your expertise on things. I used to be diagnosed, diagnosed because I guess what they're giving kids rhythm for nowadays is pretty much what I was doing, which was basically daydreaming, looking out the windows, because they would send a notation on my report card. Or, Tyrone's looking out the windows so much, what's he thinking about? I mean, youngsters do that. I mean, that's part of the exploration and thought process of, just, wanting to be outside, maybe, not so much going on in the classroom, I mean, she's up at the board there, scribbling and scratching. But long story short there, going back to what Keith was talking about with the pastors and the ministers about the way we eat, I used to get the real bad headaches, And I mean, they did the mud job and everything. I put wired me up with the mud and everything, whatever, graph something. But the stenograph or whatever there, put the mud in my head and wired me up. Couldn't find nothing. It took the brother Jerry, the Brothers of Islam there years later, I'm talking many years later. They said, get off the pork, brother. You got my name, get off the pork and everything. And with the salt, I know it's going to step on a lot of toes there, but yeah, we perfected it. We've turned it into a delicacy and everything, from the chitlins on up to, everything. But what, I guess it was young Carvey talking about his headaches there. I haven't had those type of headaches ever again. I still get headaches every once in a while, but not like those. And I guess they classified as migraines. But when you talk about the clogging of the arteries and the fat that comes off of that pork and stuff like that, and that gets in your veins and stuff there, plus the salt, that's what's contributing to your your high blood pressure and your diabetics, along with the sugar, salt, sugar, plus all that fatty stuff. Oh man! Then plus you're smoking too. That's what kind of helped do my dad. He had a great big pot of pig feet. Doctor told him he wasn't supposed to have, but he did it anyway.
How long did he live?
Till 55. 55.
Very young.
And went back to smoking too. I'm like, man, you ain't supposed to be doing that. But he wanted it, and he had it, and he's gone.
Well, can I ask a question real quick
to
the ladies?
To the ladies, okay.
Well, no, hang on. I just because I don't want to
okay.
lose it. Would a stroke be considered traumatic brain?
Yes.
Okay. All right, go on.
It's a brain injury.
Yeah. Okay. No, I was just saying, so they, I used to get those headaches, and I wasn't bad in school. I wasn't, turning over desks and all that stuff. I just looked out the window a lot. I got most of my work done that I could understand there, but I wasn't bad in school. But they just didn't know what to do with me. And it took Brother Jerry and the Brothers of Islam to say, get off the hog, man. And I feel better. Of course, I'm aging now, but I don't eat it. But I feel much better now, though.
That explains some of my behavior in junior high school. It was the pork.
It was the pork chops.
It was the pork chops.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right, man. Appreciate you. Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Yeah, Keith. I really appreciate you talking about what you're talking about. Anyway, I just recently had my cousin recently died of diabetes, and my aunt this is her third child she's lost due to diabetes. And same thing, just not taking care of themselves. And some of the people, the ones who died, they were always saying, "Well, it runs in your family as part of being black," but no, it was the food they were eating.
Mm-hmm.
And this is her, like I said, losing anybody, but I'm losing, they all died of the same thing, and diabetes.
Some people, diabetes is worse than others. They're very difficult to treat. It doesn't take much for them to topple over or go real high or real low. And it requires more concentration, more treatment, stricter diets, and more medications. Whereas other people, maybe they just need diet and exercise and minimum amount of meds. I do not want us to blame people that have a disease, a chronic disease. What we need to do is we need to be their coach. We need to encourage them. We need to show them different ways. But when you point your finger at somebody and go, "That's why you dying, because you ain't eating right." But you want to be able to win them over, encourage them, support them, because everybody's body responds differently to medication and food.
I want to point out something too. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think that three of their situation was, they were eating. The doctor would say, "Don't." My first cousin, he was a diabetic, and of course, he was drinking, and then everything you eat as food was filled with sugar. Then my second one, he was on dialysis, and he was drinking soda pop. And my last one, she just recently died. Now she would be drinking, she wouldn't be drinking soda pop, but she'd be eating cake, and she'd be doing some other things. And they know they weren't supposed to do that. And then when we'd have family functions, you'd always have to. I don't think they were ever. They said and then I heard she's got a brother. He's not dead yet, but he has. He's on dialysis, and he's drinking soda pop. He's a diabetic, and I told him, "Well, you're addicted to the sugar. It's in the soda pop." He's drinking Coca-Cola too. But I think a lot of times it's just people that's not eating properly. I'm not blaming anybody, but I'm saying sometimes people, just based on what I've seen, I'm not taking. They're not taking their. They're just saying, "Well, this is part of being black. Can't do anything about it." And that's what they're, so they just go ahead and do what they're going to do. It's not this.
But you know what?
people.
It's also very difficult, and I was saying this when I was talking with Pastor Calhoun. It is very difficult the older we get to change our habits. I mean, it is. If you're young and you come up on a certain dietary place, it's been part of you. But we've also come up under certain dietary things that we did. And look, even though it's unhealthy, it still tastes good. I mean, you know, and food is one of those pleasures that we can get that's legal.
And we have to eat.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like other things that we can remove. We have to eat. And we do hear that a lot where people say it just runs in the family. And maybe it does, but certainly lifestyle can make a huge difference. And it's not just the foods that they eat. Stress makes your diabetes difficult to control. And if you're in a family where, you know, your siblings are all dying from the same disease you have, I can guarantee you they got a lot of stress about that. But for people,
that's why they drink it.
But it's hard. It is so hard to make a change, especially when you don't understand it. You know, we teach a community diabetes class, and it's just what people don't know is sad, because
I want to point out something else too. Sorry to interrupt, but they were talking about in the Black communities. I mean, there's so many of these. They talk about crime and shooting and stabbings, but I said the biggest killer overall, Black folks, is those fast food restaurants, those Churchies, these Popeyes, these those other places that these fast food restaurants have taken out more Black people's lives than any gangbanger could ever do.
You know, it's really fascinating. Thank you, Carl.
True.
As we're up on a break. In Chicago, they wanted to do a moratorium on fast food restaurants. But here then is the symbiotic relationship. It's also a vehicle for employment.
Yes.
And so when people were talking about the negative health impact, they also talked about, well, let's say we end it. Now we're going to not only have that, we're going to have an economic impact, because there are a lot of people from those communities
that work
in those fast food restaurants. But I think the other thing was that fast foods now, because of lifestyles, has become a staple. Yeah. All right. You're listening to Community Voice. We're inside Be Healthy, Be You. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Increase in taxes while families are paying more for everything from gas to groceries is wrong. Milwaukee voters should oppose increase in property taxes by nearly 30% in order to provide increased funding yet again to Milwaukee Public Schools. They've already wasted nearly $1 billion in new taxpayer funding, and now they want more? They don't even have a plan on how they'll spend it. Enough is enough. Milwaukee voters should just say no.
Paid for by Enough is Enough. Vote no.
Hey, Milwaukee, get ready for a breath of fresh air with Community Heartbeat, your go-to show for health and wellness in our vibrant city. Tune in the last Friday of every month to join us on a journey toward a healthier Milwaukee. Community Heartbeat is not just a show, it's a movement dedicated to bringing our community together through wellness. Call in during our live show the last Friday of every month from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Share your thoughts on social media using hashtag Community Heartbeat, and let's build a healthier Milwaukee together.
Black history is something to appreciate, celebrate, and participate. Play Ode is a mobile app that streams America's best Black-owned radio stations and podcasts from across the country. ODE stands for Our Digital Entertainment. Play Ode features music and entertainment for us and by us. Listen to WNOV The Voice Milwaukee on the Play Ode app. Elevate your radio listening and participate in supporting Black radio. Download PLAYODE or log on to odeaudio.com for info and insight.
You're listening to WNOV 860 and W293CX 106.5 Milwaukee.
All right, welcome back to Community Voice, and we're inside Be Healthy, Be You. And we thank you again, you all, for allowing us to talk to Mayor Landrieu. Yeah, we were just talking about, so what about, I heard you all talk about bleeding. We talked about bruising. And again, I guess a stroke would be traumatic brain.
Would definitely be a brain injury.
What about when I have aneurysms? So if one of my aneurysms bursts, would that be traumatic?
Yep. Yeah, those are all brain injuries because, it takes place. And we still do separate them out. It's an aneurysm, a stroke, but really it is an assault to the brain, no matter what it is. So it's a brain injury.
And to give people hope, we have some amazing medical care for traumatic brain injuries nowadays. Brenda worked a lot with that, but some of the things that they would do and the recovery that you would see people have with these traumatic brain injuries is just awesome.
And it's one of the things now we have a better understanding of concussions and traumatic brain injury. You're seeing now there are protocols that we have in sports that if a person has had a concussion, where in the past, tape them up, put them back out there. Now you've had some concussions where guys have been down for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or some guys won't even get back for the season. That's just how traumatic that brain injury was.
Well, and now even when you go to the doctor, they ask you, have you fallen in the last however many months? So that can be, physically, could be that you lost your balance because, your heart rate dropped or your blood pressure dropped. But it could also signify that, that's where a lot of people have brain injuries is from falls, especially younger people too. But as we get older, walking down the stairs, tripping over our own feet, tripping over all the, I think my mother had every rug she ever bought in her life in her apartment at the end. It's like,
pick up your feet.
Horrible trip hazard,
Well, my grandma said, pick up your feet.
Right.
You walking on one of her rugs, if you pick up your feet, you won't be
falling.
So you're not sliding through there. What would you say to someone, let's say we have small children and there's a fall and you can see that they hit, would you suggest that they go and see a doctor?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. It was funny because you said back in the day, they didn't take us to the doctor for anything.
No, my first time I remember going to the doctor, probably the only time until I took myself as an adult, other than, to get my vaccines, is I hit my head on my cousin's dollhouse. And obviously I had a concussion because I passed out. My parents weren't there. They were at church. So they had to, take me to the emergency room and somebody had to go to the church and get my parents and all of that. But I was under the age of 5 and I hated dolls. I wasn't even playing with the dollhouse, but it was at my cousin's house and I hit my head on it and it knocked me out. Those dollhouses back then were, they 60 years ago, they were
real,
some serious
real material, right?
It was a real house.
Yeah, it's you see sometimes when people, again, a person falls and you can see football or basketball and that head hits the ground, and even with a helmet, you're hitting it at a, what is it? The unstoppable force meets the unmovable object, and so now you have some physics going on there, which means that, and as you said, the brain is moving around. And so it's easily bruised.
I also want to point out that the bathroom is a very dangerous place for seniors, and
not just seniors.
Not just seniors. And we know that falls is the number one reason why seniors don't have to leave their homes. And so we have to check in on our seniors and make sure their bathrooms are safe.
Yeah. I know you're redoing your bathroom, Julie, and I was talking about redoing mine, and my son's like, oh, well, let's get you a tub like this. I said, no, because I got to step over it.
You want to walk in now?
Well, I think Julia is, but I'll probably still do. But, those big, deep soakers, I'm like, no, because I got to step over and get in there. I wonder
how many people even take baths anymore.
Yeah, but you're right. But to sell a house, you should at least have one bathtub in your home.
Bathtub,
right?
Okay. I'm just wondering, but in terms of now, it is
showers.
It's the showers. My mother never invested in boy, talk about traumatic event. She never invested in a shower curtain. So we only took baths at the house. I took showers. First time I took a shower, I was in middle school, for gym. Because other than that,
right,
you take a bath. But now you do see where people are having these walk-ins.
Even the ones you walk in and sit down, and
right,
so you can.
Because one time some type of oil got on the floor of the bathtub.
Ooh.
And I was slipping, and that's what I'm saying. It's not just older people.
People used to, and I'm sure some people still do. They put baby oil in their bath water to get you all nice and soft,
shiny.
Don't help that you're soft if you fell getting out, broke your leg or hit your head. Yeah, you might be looking all shiny, but and nice and soft.
I had a cousin, and he lived with my grandmother as long as I can remember. It was her nephew. And so my cousin Bertie, he was one of those A.O. Smith guy. So, talk about living for the weekend. He had a routine. So on Saturday morning, he would get up in the bathtub. He would put in washing detergent?
Washing detergent.
Put his socks and underwear in there, and he'd take a bath with it. That was his whole little routine. Get out and, let him hang and dry. Because grandma didn't have a dryer. Let him hang and dry. So I saw that, and Keith being the impressionable kid that Keith is. So
you thought you was going to do it?
Yeah, but you know what I used?
What?
Oxidol.
I bet you were itching a little bit.
That tender little skin. Third-degree burns. Man, Oxidol wasn't no joke because it had bleach in it, right?
And bleach is corrosive, so,
so
it destroys what it comes in contact with.
I don't know. Maybe he was trying to get that oil off of him, but all right. Look like y'all got something coming up, huh?
Yes, Saturday, April 6th from 12 to 3 at Ascension Ebenezer Resource Center. We will be doing a community baby shower, and it will be open to any women that are pregnant or have a baby that's under a year. Come on.
There'll be lots of door prizes and giveaways and knowledge to be gained. Lots of good things.
Okay. And what if I'm a baby daddy?
For sure.
You definitely come.
For sure.
Okay. I mean, it's all right. We'll get one last call. And then, last call. Alcohol. Call her up to the program.
Good morning, ladies. Good morning.
Good morning.
You were talking about Keith, the ladies. You might explain to me too. I had a neurological thing, but nobody could tell me how you get it. It was Bell's palsy back in 2019, and my whole right side of my face and my body just stopped working. And I remember they took me through all the tests, like you have a stroke, the MRI, the machine. I couldn't close my right eye, all of those things. And I thought, they said, we thought you had a heart attack or a stroke, so we take you through the same protocol. But that was an experience, and they could never tell me what caused. They said it was some kind of a virus.
Is that what Bell palsy? That's what's asking. Is it a virus?
It's a particular cranial nerve, and it becomes inflamed and infected. Sometimes it's viral. Sometimes antibiotics will help. It usually fully recovers. Sometimes people have a little bit of residual, but and sometimes you're more at risk for it if you've had it once. But yeah, it's just one of those things that happen. But with the facial drooping and the eyelids and all of that, they have to make sure to rule out that it's not a stroke before they can actually identify that or diagnose that it's Bell's palsy.
Very frightening.
Yeah, it is. Now, the other thing I would add is that you were just talking about bath, Keith. I had a catheter in my shoulder to get dialysis for a year, and I could not get it wet. So I had to take a bath.
Mm-hmm.
and I had to cover it and make sure it didn't get wet. That was an experience, and I finally got it out. But it's you just keep adjusting your life to live.
Yeah, and when they tell
sure
you
can
can't have a shower, all of a sudden that shower is like the one thing you want more than anything.
More than anything.
So,
It was funny when he was
Yes.
talking about the bathtub. What is it, Calgon?
Oh, take your life away. What was it?
Take
Something
me
like,
away.
Take
Take
me
me
away
away.
with Calgon.
And then you see, of course, when a woman has had a really tough day and she comes in and she lights the candles in the bathtub.
You talking about me, Keith? You talking about me?
Well, I know that ain't me. That's
Yes. And then I try to figure out, well, how did you get in the tub with all those candles and not get burnt?
You find a way. You step very carefully.
And get your little glass of wine.
That's right. All of it. You got to have the whole thing. Lights off. Music. Have a little bit of music too. Some jazz playing in the background.
I wanted to add that, one of the things for to get this kidney transplant is I'm going through test after test after test. And I've had everything from a heart catheter to a prostate biopsy. They said that everything in your body must work properly before we'll put this new kidney in there. And so it's been an ordeal. It's been over a year of tests. But in the end, I hope that it yields me a body that can take a new kidney. That's what I.
Yeah, I hope so for you also.
Appreciate you, man.
Okay, thank you. I'll have a blessing.
Praying for you, brother. We grew up together.
That's right.
Did you?
Yeah, homies. West Division together? Okay.
Seems like everybody went to West
Yeah,
Division.
it feels that way.
It does.
It was a period, though, when that's where we lived.
Yeah.
The Hill, that a lot of people lived. That was a neighborhood that most folks kind of didn't know about. I don't even know how Black people got over to the Hill.
Yeah,
but you'd always hear about people who grew up in that area. And then this is the other thing. Milwaukee, certainly when we were coming along, the Black population was only 10%.
Right. We were small.
We were small. I mean, now it seemed a lot to us, but in the great scheme of things, I remember going to the Mount, and I had classmates from DC. They go, any Black people in Milwaukee?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They always ask that.
Yeah, there are a lot of Black people in Milwaukee. Yeah. And I think in the 80s and 90s, we saw an explosion in terms of our population and becoming a greater portion of the population. But when Milwaukee back in the late 60s, it was only 10% of the population. And it's so funny because people do not think of McGovern Park as being way out. When I was growing up,
it was way
out. And we thought West Lawn was a suburb. We didn't know it was a project.
Yeah, you don't want to go in them suburbs.
We just knew that there were a lot of light-skinned girls up in West Lawn.
Huh?
There's a lot of biracial folks out there. So it was, but I thought, man, McGovern Park, when we did that bus ride out there, it's going like, man.
It's a field trip.
Right. And I was going up to an event up in Grafton. And so I took, is that 124 that takes you all the way to the county line. And then you're going up towards Menominee Falls. And there were so many Black people out there. I mean, I was amazed because, we kind of
spread
out. Oh, man. I'm glad that you all hung out. This has been 3 hours and 40 minutes.
Oh, yeah, you were on this morning.
I was on this morning. My former colleague, Jermaine Reed, used to do 4 hours, and I come in at 11 o'clock, right? And by the time Jermaine looked like he going through a ringer. I mean, he just be. So I don't know how the great Joe Madison, those folks do 4 hours.
That's talking.
Yeah.
Constant talking and thinking.
Ouch.
Right. Your brain's hurting.
Ouch.
Hoping
That's
you're not
traumatic
popping any
brain.
blood vessels.
Now stress can can do some damage, right?
Oh, serious damage. We talk about, what it does to your blood vessels.
Mhm.
So most definitely.
It was as we're in Passion Week. One of the things that was described in the Bible was when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane, he was sweating blood.
Mhm.
And come to find out that is biologically possible.
It is.
That your blood vessels burst
Mhm.
from stress,
Mhm.
and you literally but it shows the level of stress
He was under.
that he was, just the survival of the world, no pressure.
Right. No big deal.
Just coming to save the world. Other than that,
knowing you're gonna be perceduted.
right, crucified,
right.
but
a little
he
stress.
didn't have anything on his plate. But that how we can, and so when people, and then certainly, the interesting thing is when they would describe things in the Bible, medical conditions, now we understand because of knowledge, technology, medical advancement. But that was one of the things where when you heard that, it was like, or the fellow who had the legion of demons. Well, now we have a better understanding that he was dealing with schizophrenia, right? Because one of the things that happens was that he was self-destructive. That whole thing, he was hurting himself. They isolated him, because it's really bad when you can't come to Thanksgiving dinner. Everybody got an uncle. I ain't lying. Everybody got an uncle that he done just told his draw so many times. And every year we gonna let Uncle Keith come back.
And about 10 minutes later, you're like, you got to go.
And I ain't calling no names, Uncle Money, but my Uncle Buddy get right before he come. Right, he get right, so he get there. And now to me, it was entertaining, and maybe I should have encouraged him by laughing. But to the rest of the family, they're really annoyed. Like, here we go, everything.
But he wasn't talking about you.
No, he's talking about everybody else. Telling everybody's business, because when alcohol loosens your tongue,
yes, it does.
You talk about inhibitions that you might have had. Yeah. Why'd you say that? I think I was drunk.
That's right. Whereas before you would have thought, I don't think I should say that.
Yeah,
now it's like, I think it, I'm saying it.
I'm gonna go out to the car. When I come back, I'm gonna tell y'all something. And tell it. And the crazy thing was, he wasn't lying.
Right.
It wasn't like he didn't have the facts. He just laid the facts, and my mother just get more frustrated. And this is the thing I hated though about my mom could do this, and sometimes black women do this. It drives me nuts. Even then, she called him boy. He a grown man. He a grown man, and she called him boy in such a way, and I'd be going like, he is a man, mama.
But maybe she was trying to have a little dig, a little derogatory word.
He's a man, mama. Let me do one other thing. We just kind of talk about some of these things in terms of these things that happen in terms of traumatic. So we talked about stroke. Talked about people having aneurysms. We talked about brain bleed. Talked about concussions. Concussions can swell the brain, right?
Right. Sometimes to the point where they have to remove a part of the skull. They save it, but they take it off to allow room for the brain to swell. Otherwise, if it continues to swell, then you're gonna die.
What about when you saw this from the old, you'd hear this from military guys when they had to put a plate in. Why did they put a plate in? Is it because something happened with your skull?
It could be that the skull was damaged to the point that they had to replace it with something. But there's also drugs that can help with the swelling of the brain, but sometimes you have to remove.
What's the danger of swelling of the brain?
Well, then it's just going to bleed. Everything's going to compress, and you're going to die.
And it's kind of
you're going to bleed. Your brain's going to bleed, and you're going to die.
See, your skull, your head has a hole, and the spinal cord goes up in there.
Okay. And she's actually showing us do it to the camera.
Yes, and attaches to the brainstem.
And it attaches to the brainstem. And if it bleeds too much and it gets too heavy, it'll fall down on that spinal cord.
So you almost have a compression?
It just drops.
Okay.
and
you're gonna
that's
die.
dead.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's dead.
Because your brain stem regulates everything: your heart rate, your breathing.
He's dead, and he is not alive.
That's right. He is not alive.
DED.
Right.
How dead is he? He dead.
He real dead.
He
He real dead.
really dead. He really dead.
So that's why we try to control that bleeding as fast and quickly as possible, because we don't want that to happen.
And so you've actually seen, and I've seen where they put induced comas when people are dealing with brain swelling. What does that
Most
do?
definitely.
What does that just shut the body down? So
So the body you can use, because if you're not, you're trying to do everything else. They're trying to slow down everything else, allow your brain to heal, allow all that energy in that allows your brain to heal during that time.
Like we put ice packs on things. They constrict. Yeah, they make your body get cold.
And I don't know if you noticed, I was ordering my mom's Tuesdays hamburger and shake. What causes brain freeze? As I'm thinking of ice cream. Ice.
I
don't know. I mean, let's look it up, Keith.
Drink something real cold.
And
your brain go like,
I don't want that. I don't want that.
What happens also neurologically? Let's say that we have something. It can deal with your balance.
Every part of the brain has something specific, and if the part that your balance is located is
here
damaged
in the ear,
around in there,
you are going to be wobbly.
I cannot pop my head up real quickly. I get like lightheaded.
Oh, you get vertigo.
Yeah. Well, not vertigo as much. Well, vertigo, because it's
syncope?
vertigo.
Maybe syncope. You get kind of lightheaded.
Yeah.
Okay. So your blood pressure might drop a little bit. Right. So you want to hear the technical reason why we get a brain freeze. Okay. When the temperature of the roof of the mouth and the back of the throat, it drops drastically from the shot of cold. This sets off a chain reaction. Blood vessels in the roof of the mouth narrow, which triggers brain arteries to dilate. And that's what causes it.
So dilation means it opens.
And so all of a sudden,
wow.
Huh.
Wow.
So try not to have a brain freeze. It doesn't sound like a good physiological.
Have you had
response.
one? Have you had one?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So why do a brain freeze hurt? Like, because I know I've had a popsicle one time and I'm eating it too fast, and then you have to like close your eyes because it's like everything hurt. Like, just
well, it says when that blood vessel opens up, the artery walls, it affects the trigeminal nerve, and so that nerve becomes
expanded.
It just gets triggered. And so like if you've ever had nerve pain of anything, it comes as a flash and so that nerve gets aggravated, and as a result, that's the feeling that you're having.
Okay.
Would you suggest, I don't know if people be able to do it, but if people have had a fall, would you suggest that they go and see their primary care physician?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Especially, I mean, if you hit your head, most definitely you need to go. And as we age, the older we get, absolutely you need to go. But yeah, if your children or, they fall outside and hit their head, if they've got a bruise, they should probably be seen. If they're crying. Yeah. No, back then they didn't. They went and poured, I don't know, sometimes I had things on my body that came out of a can that was in the garage. I don't know. Wrap the stuff up in it, put it on my arm. That should heal it.
It worked.
No, it didn't. No, it did not work.
That is what they did. However,
you know what worked? Eventual work. Eventual work. That's what worked.
They had home remedies, though.
Yeah,
they did. However, I can't remember what it was that it stunk horribly that they wrapped my arm up. So I looked at it, and it does. It helps draw fluid out. So it did help with pulling fluid out of the tissue, which was causing some of the pain. But I wish I could remember what it was, but it was in the garage and it didn't smell good. It was oily. Wrapped the rags in it and wrapped it on my arm. And that was it. There was no doctor visit.
I was listening to this Filipino comedian, And he talked about being in the Philippines, and he says his mama's answer to every ailment was Vicks Vapor Rub.
Or
What it was,
Mhm.
she
Get your
goes,
little vapor rub.
right.
Yeah.
Got an upset stomach,
Yeah.
get the Vicks Vapor Rub.
Well, yeah, alcohol was pretty, rubbing alcohol was pretty popular in our house. Stomach ache, rub that on your
Peroxide.
stomach.
What about
Oh, yes.
what about is it Mercurochrome?
Oh, yeah.
And then it was like iodine?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Anything not to go to the doctor. However, you have to know, probably didn't have any good insurance, might not have any insurance at all. So he wasn't going to the doctor.
And it wasn't no Marcus Welby.
Mm-mm.
Well, we're inside the last break of the program. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Brownstone Social Lounge, Milwaukee's premier downtown social lounge for good vibes, good music, and good food. Offers all-day happy hour every Tuesday and Wednesday. $6 wings, $8 flatbreads, drink specials, and more. Essential Tuesdays. All essential workers receive 10% off their purchase with proof of ID every Tuesday. Kick back with R&B karaoke Thursday beginning at 7 p.m. followed by Throwback Thursday. Brownstone Social Lounge. Great food, great drinks, fresh hookah, located at 524 North Water Street. Are you ready to take your self-care routine to new heights? Introducing Bird Songs, your one-stop destination for all natural body essentials. Now open at our brand new location, 7123 West Greenfield Avenue. That's 7123 West Greenfield Avenue. Come check out an extensive collection of body oils, shea butter, soaps, hydrating lotions, refreshing shower gels, and enchanting incense. For more information, please visit birdsongsonline.com.
On April 2nd, Milwaukee Public Schools is asking you to vote for a permanent 30% property tax increase. At a time when Milwaukee families are feeling the pinch financially, it's the wrong time for a tax increase. Students and families deserve accountability. We need a comprehensive plan from MPS with real solutions, not just a new tax. Vote no to 30% on April 2nd. Paid for by CFC Action Fund as an in-kind contribution to an...
Hi, my name is Tamika Vukovic, co-executive director of Wisconsin Voices. Please join Wisconsin Voices every Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. We will be focusing on community partnerships, voter education, and long-term collective impact for all Wisconsinites.
You're listening to WNOV 860 and W293CX 106.5 Milwaukee.
All right, well, welcome back. And again, listen to Be Healthy, Be You. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. Because you've really helped me get through what has been, it doesn't seem like a long morning, but talking 4 hours straight.
That's a long time.
And then I'm listening to me, and I don't want to hear me, so I can only imagine, like, is that dude still talking? Yeah, I'm okay, now look at this bus here. Look at the kids on this bus.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Do you does that look like a school bus?
No seatbelts, no nothing.
But look at them.
They're
all in their seats.
Yeah, well, but look at them.
But look at them.
Y'all say, the complexion,
right. It's a little light.
The complexion kind of tell you they on their way.
They are not.
Look at them.
They are going on a field trip somewhere.
Now, if if the complexion was a little different,
oh dude,
we would have saw
hands
out the window.
You'd have had a cat on top of the bus breakdancing while it's driving, just all type of stuff going on.
That bus was totally full.
It was full and
quiet.
Everybody was in the seat, looked like they were assigned to be in.
Or maybe they was listening to opera because they was sitting there so calm, like
I didn't see any headphones on or anything. No,
I don't remember us really clowning on buses, but
please, if I clowned on the bus, it was not going to work out well for me when I got home.
Field trip. Now, the bus I caught to high school, oh, we clowned on that bus, but no, it was, and the irony was, there were people who fought for us to be able to sit in the front of the bus.
You go straight to the back.
Straight to the back of the bus.
And I was in the 220 program.
Okay.
So, I went to Greenfield. I graduated from Greenfield.
Okay.
So, I was one of the few blacks that was out there in the early 90s.
Okay.
But just seeing how things was, because when we got on the bus, oh man, it was like a family reunion. It's like you've seen everybody from, oh man, you go here, oh we go here.
Yeah.
So we got on the bus and the wheels on the bus went round and round.
Let me tell you, anybody's been in the PWI, the first thing you do is go find other black people.
Yeah.
That's the first thing you do. But I saw this, I worked in a predominantly black environment. And when I watch white people come in, the first thing they looking for, they're white people.
They're white people, yeah.
I mean, you always look, because, now you get to find out, man, I don't know about all this now, but we got on the bus, you go, and even today, if I get on a public transportation, I'm going to the back of the bus.
Yep.
It ain't got nothing to do with Rosa Parks. That's just where you clown in the back of the bus. And I tell the story, the same bus that I caught to high school, my grandmother caught to clean people's houses. So in the morning, my grandmother's friends, would be on the bus, and they would just call Anna. They go, Anna, your grandson Keith is such a well-behaved young man. He sits back there and he's just reading, and all the other kids but he's just sitting back there reading. I said, yeah, that's in the morning, but y'all ain't on the bus at 3:30.
Yeah,
you ain't gonna recognize Keith back there then.
You were still sleeping in the morning.
Yeah, I'm just oh man. So anyway.
You knew they were on the bus.
Cause you're supposed to act like you've been brought up right around people. Now, when you get away from them, I kid Keon because Carrie Miles lived on Keon's block. I never cussed on 11th Street. Catch me on 12th and 10th. I know nobody on that block, and nobody knew me. Right? So,
whole different
concept. But when people, and they know your people, and they gonna tell your people.
See, for me, it's a little different because my dad's a pastor.
Oh,
so growing up a preacher's kid, you on the front row. It's 9 of us, so all 9 of us on the front row. But boy, when I got away from mama and daddy, it was like, you Regina's son?
It's funny because you a PK. I had a conversation with Priscilla Coggs and with Andrea Pratt. They're also PKs, politician kids. So they lived the same experience as preacher kids. And then talk about, Priscilla said, I know we got to go. Priscilla said something real funny. She said, yeah, we be out canvassing and they drop us off on the corner. I said, well, let's say they drop you off in the middle of the block. On the corner trying to get votes. Let me thank Pastor Calhoun. Yes. Let me thank Julia. Let me thank Brenda, Jermaine, Devo, new guy, Nate. I like the way he said, little dude, Nate. My name Nate. And Nate. Let me thank all the listeners, all the callers. I did it.
Yes, you did.
I did.
Great job.
Great job. I'm calling in sick tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Don't rise or go for the rest of the week. Good Lord, willing, quick to rise. I'll talk to everybody tomorrow. And as always, go for this place of peace.
You're listening to WNOV 860 and W293CX 106.5 Milwaukee. The views and opinions expressed on this show do not reflect that of the staff and management of WNOV and W293CX 106.5 FM Courier Communications Milwaukee, but are the sole comments of the host and guest of this particular show.